The rain fell in merciless sheets over the city of Karachi that night, turning the streets into rivers of neon reflection and garbage. 14-year-old Bilal huddled under the awning of an abandoned shop near Civil Hospital, his thin kurta soaked through, clutching a plastic bag that held his only possessions. A cracked phone he'd found in trash months ago, it no longer charged, half a roti wrapped in newspaper, and a small, tarnished medal his mother had once worn before she disappeared. He had no family left. His father had died in a factory fire 3 years earlier, his mother had vanished one monsoon season, leaving him with nothing but the street. Bilal survived by collecting bottles, helping unload trucks when laborers needed an extra hand, and avoiding the police who chased street kids like stray dogs. Inside the hospital, in the private ICU wing reserved for those who could afford it, 8-month-old Zion Khan lay motionless. Tubes snaked across his tiny body like vines on a ruined wall. Machines that had screamed alarms for hours now beeped in slow, defeated rhythm. Zion was the only son of Arif Khan, Pakistan's youngest self-made billionaire, owner of Khan Tech, the conglomerate that controlled half the country's telecom towers and solar farms. Zion had suffered a sudden, catastrophic seizure followed by cardiac arrest earlier that evening after a high fever spiked without warning. The best pediatric specialists in the city, flown in from Lahore and Dubai, had worked for 4 hours. They shocked him, pumped adrenaline, opened his chest in emergency thoracotomy. Nothing. At 11:47 p.m., the lead doctor, a gray-haired professor with trembling hands, pronounced time of death. Arif Khan stood frozen in the corridor. The man who had negotiated billion-dollar deals without blinking now looked like he might collapse. His wife, Sana, had fainted twice already and was sedated in a private room. Bodyguards formed a silent wall around the grieving family, but money could not stop this. The doctors prepared to disconnect life support. Nurses began the paperwork for organ donation consent. Zion's heart, liver, corneas could save others. Arif signed blindly, tears blurring the ink. Outside, Bilal had been watching the commotion through the glass doors. Ambulances came and went, but this one family drew crowds even in the rain. Security, flashing cameras from news vans, whispers of Khan's son. Bilal had no idea who they were, only that the hospital smelled of disinfectant and despair, the same smell that had clung to his mother's last days. He saw the small white bundle being wheeled toward the morgue elevator on a gurney. Something twisted in his chest. He remembered his baby sister, stillborn, how the nurses had wrapped her the same way and taken her away forever. Bilal slipped past the distracted security, rain made people careless, and followed the gurney down the dim service corridor. The morgue attendant had stepped away for tea. The room was cold, fluorescent lights buzzing like dying flies. The attendant had left the sheet partially open. Zion's face was blue-gray, lips purple, chest still. Bilal didn't know why he did it. Maybe it was the memory of his sister. Maybe it was simple refusal to accept another child lost. He climbed onto the steel table, knelt beside the infant, and placed both palms on the tiny chest. He had seen street doctors, unqualified men who stitched wounds in bazaars, perform CPR on accident victims. He had watched YouTube videos on a chai stall phone when the battery lasted. 30 compressions, 2 breaths. Hard, fast. Bilal pressed. 1, 2, 3. His arms burned after 20. No response. He tilted the baby's head, pinched the nose, sealed his mouth over the cold lips, and breathed. Once, twice. Back to compressions. He counted aloud in a whisper, voice cracking. Come on, Baba, come on. At 147 compressions, Zion's chest jerked. Bilal froze. Another jerk. A small, wet cough. Color crept into the cheeks like dawn light. Bilal kept going until the baby cried, weak at first, then stronger, furious. The morgue attendant returned with his tea, dropped the cup, and screamed. Alarms blared again. Doctors rushed in disbelief. They found Bilal kneeling on the floor, soaked, shaking, staring at the now pink infant who was breathing on his own. Arif Khan arrived minutes later, summoned from the corridor where he had been sitting with his head in his hands. He saw his son, alive, being re-intubated, monitors showing heartbeat, oxygen saturation climbing. Then he saw the boy. Bilal tried to slip away, but security caught him gently this time. Who are you? Arif asked, voice raw. Bilal, the boy whispered. He wasn't breathing. I learned from videos. Arif stared. The doctors were murmuring about Lazarus syndrome, delayed return of spontaneous circulation, miracles that happened once in thousands of cases. But none of them had been in the morgue. Only this filthy street child had refused to let go. Arif knelt, heedless of his Armani suit touching the wet floor. "You brought my son back." Bilal looked at his dirty feet. "I didn't want another baby to go away like my sister." That night changed everything, and nothing. Zion spent 3 more weeks in ICU, then months in rehabilitation. Brain damage from oxygen deprivation left him with cerebral palsy. He would never walk normally, might struggle with speech. But he was alive, laughing, growing. Arif Khan kept his promise to himself. He found Bilal sleeping under the same awning 2 days later. This time, he didn't send security. He came alone, in an old Corolla so as not to frighten the boy. "I want to help you," Arif said simply. Bilal shook his head. "I don't need charity. It's not charity, it's gratitude, and maybe, friendship." Bilal hesitated. He had learned long ago that rich people's promises evaporated like rain on hot asphalt. But Arif didn't push. He simply left a phone number, a warm meal, and a blanket. He came back the next day. And the next. Over months, Bilal slowly allowed himself to be pulled into their world. He was enrolled in a private school, first time he had ever sat in a classroom. Tutors helped him catch up. He was bright, quick with numbers, fascinated by how things worked. Arif bought him clothes, but Bilal insisted on keeping his old medal. Sana, Zion's mother, at first kept distance. Grief and guilt made her wary. But one afternoon, when Zion reached for Bilal's finger and gurgled happily, something broke inside her. She hugged the boy who had given her son back, sobbing apologies for every night Bilal had spent cold and hungry. The media frenzy was inevitable. Headlines screamed, "Street Boy's Miracle Revives Billionaire's Son." Talk shows invited Bilal. He refused most, uncomfortable with cameras. But he did one interview, quiet and straightforward. "I didn't do magic," he said. "I just didn't give up. Anyone could learn CPR. Anyone could try." Arif used the spotlight differently. He launched the Bilal Foundation, free CPR training in slums, schools, factories. Mobile clinics, scholarships for street children. He funded pediatric ICUs in public hospitals so no other family would face the same despair. Bilal lived with the Khans part-time in a small apartment near his old neighborhood so he never forgot where he came from. He visited the streets, shared food, taught other kids basic first aid. Years passed. Zion turned 5. He wore braces on his legs, spoke in halting sentences, but his smile lit rooms. He called Bilal, "Bye, big brother." One evening, on Zion's birthday, the family gathered on the lawn of their sprawling house. Lanterns glowed, laughter floated on the breeze. Arif pulled Bilal aside. "I've been thinking," he said. "You're 18 now. University applications are in. Oxford accepted you, engineering. But there's something else." Bilal waited. "We want to adopt you. Officially, if you'll have us." Bilal looked across the lawn. Zion was chasing bubbles, falling, laughing as Sana helped him up. The boy who once had nothing now had a family calling him son. He thought of the cold morgue table, the tiny chest under his hands, the moment life returned. Tears came, quiet, grateful. "I never had a father after mine died," Bilal said. "But if I could choose, it would be you." Arif embraced him. For the first time in years, the billionaire cried without shame. That night, under the stars, Bilal whispered to the sky the way he used to when he was alone. "Thank you for letting me try."